Joining us now, also live in Washington, D.C., Morgan Griffith, Congressman, 9th District of Virginia. That's the southwest area. Rosie's Gaming in Vinton, just outside of Roanoke, in his district. And he is joining us now. Congressman Griffith, great to have you.
It's good to be with you again.
Lots to talk about today. Let's start with USMCA, and then we'll go to impeachment. So you got 7 days remaining to pass it. Economic estimates say if it passes, it'll increase gross domestic product by, get this, a full 1%. Jobs are on the line. Money is on the line. Farmers are suffering. Even Mexico said, hey, what's the deal? Pass this thing. It's a no-brainer. And yet you guys have got 7 days, and it's nowhere to be found. What's going on with that?
Well, I mean, you've been talking about impeachment this morning, and I think that's all they care about. They have such a hatred of the president, and they don't want to do anything that would give him credit, and they just want to, bash him consistently.
Congressman, the testimony yesterday by Charged Affairs.
What testimony? You mean the testimony that was in behind closed doors that I'm not allowed to hear?
Yes.
The testimony that Nancy Pelosi doesn't want you to hear?
Yes.
The testimony that the American people can't hear because they don't want you to know the truth?
Yes.
That testimony that
Yes.
all we know about is from Democrat leaks to the Washington Post?
Yes.
Sorry. I'm
That
a little
testimony.
irritated about it. I was elected to represent the people of Southwest Virginia, and I'm not allowed in the room.
Why?
There's no rational reason for it. The only thing that I can do is to speculate. That reason is that, there's not enough there for them to really be doing an impeachment hearing. So what they want to do is they do it behind closed doors. It's all smoke and mirrors. And then they come out with a line that, oh my gosh, an envoy to Ukraine heard from someone in the chain somewhere, heard from someone that Trump wanted a quid pro quo. Here's the problem with that. I spent my entire life before coming to Congress making sure that people got a fair deal in court. The president is not getting a fair deal. And while this is not a typical court, we should have transparency in this country. Let the American people see the facts. Let them judge. Impeachment is a political process where people get to decide what are high crimes and misdemeanors. And yet, as a member of Congress, and you as a member of the public, have to rely on leaks from behind the scenes, Democrat leaks that tell us that somebody heard something. Well, hearsay, by definition, is not allowed. I'm sure we've all heard things that turned out to be false, like Adam Schiff saying he had incontrovertible evidence of collusion. Well, I heard that, but it wasn't true. So if I'd gone out and said Adam Schiff said this, would that be an indictment? No. Mm-hmm. No. So I'm very upset because the rules of fairness are being twisted. Mm-hmm. The rules of governing this country and making sure the American people on a matter of impeachment have the right to hear the facts, mm-hmm. not filtered through leaks from the mm-hmm. Democrat conference mm-hmm. or the Democrat caucus. Mm-hmm. All of that is being twisted and turned around, and you can hate the president if you want to. Mm-hmm. But let's at least recognize that American principles of fairness and justness should be present. Even if you think everything the president did was horrible, it ought to be done in public. It ought not be done in a closed room. There are guards outside that door that keep members from going in. I haven't been one of the ones that tried to barge in, but they have Capitol police officers standing outside the room to keep out members of Congress. It's down deep in the basement of the Capitol complex, and it is clearly being kept in secret, in my opinion, to make smoke and mirrors, to make the American people believe there is something there, when in fact, I don't think there is. But you know what? I can't be a fair judge when Nancy Pelosi won't let me in the room. I can't be a fair judge, and neither can the American people.
So, Congressman, what you're describing is not an impeachment hearing. It's a political operation, right?
It's a political ambush.
So,
all it is.
Congressman Whitman, chairman of a subcommittee on sea power readiness, said on Friday on my show that he actually went to the Judiciary Committee and asked the staff of the chairman if he could go in and read the transcript of one of the testimonies, one of the depositions. If he could go in and read it.
Volker.
Yeah, Volker. He wanted to go in and read it. I mean, it affects his subcommittee, and he asked permission to go and read it. You know, no cameras, just be able to read it and see what happened. And he said he was shocked that he was declined that opportunity.
Yep. That's of every member of the United States Congress who does not sit on one of the three committees. Now, keep in mind that doesn't include judiciary. Mm. But if you're not on one of the three committees, you don't get in the room. You're not allowed in. I mean, look, I understand everybody can't ask questions, but as the duly elected representative of the people of the 9th Congressional District, I have a right to be in that room. I have a right to listen to the testimony. I have a right to see it on C-SPAN.
Or to at least read the transcript.
Well, yeah, at least read the transcript, but you know, the American people are being denied free access to this information, and this is not classified information.
Right.
I mean, that's what's so amazing. It's not classified information, but we're being denied it because it's a sham process, in my opinion. Now, I'm having to make that decision because why would you want to hide information from the American people? Mm-hmm. Why would you want to hide information from members of Congress who are going to have to vote at some point, as you've been saying, at some point they're going to bring that up for a vote for impeachment? Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to cast a vote, and I'm not allowed to look the witnesses in the eye, much less ask them questions, which I understand. I'm not on those committees. I understand not asking questions. What I don't understand is why I can't make an assessment for myself as to the veracity of the various witnesses. How much, is there. What I have to do is I have to get it filtered by Adam Schiff and Company, and I'm supposed to take at face value whatever they say is true in light of some of the things that haven't been said as true, but more importantly, because I like to make a decision for myself. Adam Schiff was not elected to represent the people of the 9th District.
Well, what's actually happening is Schiff and his people are leaking it to the media that then puts it out there. So actually you're not getting it from Schiff, you're getting it from media leaks that Schiff leaked, or is somebody on his committee.
I'm getting a media spin on the Schiff interpretation of evidence that the people elected me to make a decision on. These are not easy decisions. Whether you're going to war or whether you're going to impeach a president, these are decisions that should be done with caution and should be done after mature consideration. And the people of the 9th Congressional District elected me to make those decisions for them. They did not elect Adam Schiff or his media interpreted leaks to make that decision. They elected me to make that decision. They elected the rest of the people. I mean, look, there's lots of Virginians who are not in the room. Mm-hmm. Not just Rob Whitman and I. Mm-hmm. The majority of us are not in the room. Mm-hmm. And yet each congressional member of the Virginia delegation is going to have to make a decision based on smoke and mirrors evidence, where up to this point the most damning revelation has been clear hearsay. Even the Washington Post, they didn't call it hearsay, they just said he heard. I saw those headlines yesterday and I was shocked. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, what have we done? Mm-hmm. Have we gone back to the days of Henry VIII when if you heard that somebody might have once flirted with Anne Boleyn, you lost your head? Mm-hmm. Is that where we're at?
Right. He
heard.
Right. No one
that's
actually.
The most damning evidence they've gotten so far. Somebody heard something. They weren't there. They didn't hear it directly from the president. They didn't get an instruction. They didn't get a written memoranda approved by the president. They just heard. Mm-hmm. That's the most damning evidence they've got. This is a sham process.
And so that's why they won't let you in.
I believe that's got to be the reason they won't let me in, because they don't want people who understand that this is just a complete sham and who won't fall for the smoke and mirrors trickery and the chicanery going on down there. They don't want all of us in that room going out and reporting to the American people that that's not what was said. They want it to be their narrative. They want it to be what they've told the media. They don't want anybody pushing back and saying, no, that's not what was said. And as a result of that, they have to keep it secret behind closed doors with the threat that they might classify some of the information later for those people who are sitting in the room. Of course, they don't enforce those rules against the Democrat members, but they threaten that against the Republican members, that this might be classified later, so you can't say anything. Well, it's not classified now, and they don't want the American people to hear it, because I think it's just a bunch of hooey.
So you've got 185 members, right? They've got a 19-vote majority. 26 Democrats got elected in districts that Trump carried in 2016, right? 26 of them, including 2 in Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, Elaine Luria.
Yep.
They can't pass impeachment. I think he's going to get impeached. I've been saying that for 2 weeks. That's just my belief. So,
I agree.
But they're good. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
So, in order to do that, though, right now, I haven't seen a single Republican anywhere near, other than Justin Amash, who's, I guess, quit the party. So I don't know what category to put him in. So if they get no Republicans, how is this even a legitimate process if they get no Republicans? And you know that some of the Democrats in those 26 districts are going to bail. They're going to get permission from Nancy to bail. Maybe 6 of them, or 8, the most 8 vulnerable. How do you pass this with no Republicans and 8, 9 Democrats voting no? How is that legitimate? What's their end game here?
Well, under the rules, it would be allowed. However, I do think it goes over to the Senate, showing that it's an extremely weak impeachment, and that it is. I think most senators already understand it's a politically motivated, without anything other than you don't like the way the president says things behind it. It goes over completely as a wounded duck. But that being said, it can at least crawl its way down the hall to the Senate. So
we're with Congressman Morgan Griffith, Republican, 9th District, Virginia, pretty red area. So, Congressman, have you talked to a single Republican who was not outraged by this process? And that's question 1. And question 2 is, do you know of anybody that might jump ship and vote with Pelosi and the Democrats on impeachment as of now in your caucus?
I haven't talked to anybody who's jumping ship. That doesn't mean there might not be one out there. Mm-hmm. But I haven't talked to anybody that's jumping ship in our caucus. All Republicans, particularly, when I'm home going to street festivals and football games and so forth, all Republicans and a lot of independents are just totally beside themselves with the way this is being handled. Some even who don't like the president are like, oh my gosh, just let the man do his job.
Right.
I don't agree with the way he talks. I don't agree with this or that, but just let him do his job. What are we going through all this mess for? There's an election coming up. Mm-hmm. If I want to get rid of him, I vote against him. I mean, so when you're getting all the Republicans are solidified and a big chunk of the independents are just like, what are these people doing? And meanwhile, the Capitol is getting very little done, if anything. USMCA, one of the biggest things we've got, is sidetracked because I think they don't want the president to have a political win. It would raise the economy. They want the economy to be bad going into the next election so they can say, you see, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. Well, we've already had better growth than we ever had during the Obama years, but
right.
Forget that.
Right.
But they don't want it to be even better than that. They don't want it to get to a point where, we're outpacing all of the other economies in the world.
Right.
Again, they want us to be a weaker country, apparently, or they at least want to get somebody else credit for it. It's just, it really is frustrating. Our committee, as I've told you before, was working on drug pricing. It got scuttled and made into a political thing. Then Nancy Pelosi came back with a bill that our committee had not dealt with and said, here it is, you're going to pass it, and told the Democrats they were going to pass it. I think it has serious constitutional concerns. I raised those in committee. But, and that was kind of a funny situation because I gave them an opportunity. I said, here's an amendment that says if it's not constitutional, any one part of it's not constitutional, the whole bill goes away. It's a non-severability clause. I said, if you're confident that I'm wrong, you'll vote for this because you don't have to worry about its constitutionality. But I'm telling you, there's a constitutional problem, and y'all better vote no. And everybody laughed, and they voted no. Because deep in their hearts, they know this bill's got problems. But Nancy Pelosi gave the order that it was going to pass, and so they're going to have some bill that they can pass, but it's a bill that is I think, unconstitutional, not enforceable, and will never get out of the Senate. But even if it did get out of the Senate, I think it's so flawed constitutionally, it will die at the hands of justice in the courts.
Give us the one provision that you believe is the most non-constitutional or outrageous in that in her bill.
Okay. It takes if you do not agree to the price that the government offers you for a drug, and they've got a formula that they're going to, it has some parameters. But if you as a drug manufacturer do not agree to their price, they will go back 5 years, and in some cases maybe even before the bill, but 5 years backwards and take 95% of your gross revenues from the sale of that drug. Now keep in mind, 95% of your gross revenues does not include money that you use to bring that drug to market, which means most companies are just going to say, okay, if we've got a new drug that we're working on, we're just going to, we'll take it to Europe. We're not even going to deal with it in the United States. Mm-hmm. We'll take it somewhere else, because why would we do that if we don't accept the government's demand that we'd sell it for this amount, then we're going to lose 95%. It's an unlawful taking under the Fifth Amendment, and I think it could even be a bill of attainder if it goes backwards, targeting a drug company. It's specifically for drug companies. It's specifically targeting that group. It has a fine that's really not a fine. It's a punishment for not agreeing to the government price. I think it clearly fits the definition of bill of attainder, which has its own clause in the United States Constitution. So you've got the Fifth Amendment and bills of attainder, either one of which could apply, either one of which the court could use without.
All right. We're almost out of time. Final question. Messaging coming out of the White House on impeachment. We don't think it's hitting the mark. But let me ask you this. Yesterday, the president said it was a political lynching. I wasn't really comfortable with that description. What about you?
Well, I'm not comfortable with it, but, I'm a little weird, John. I love studying words. Mm-hmm. And the word actually comes, I know what its modern meaning is, and that's why I'm uncomfortable with it.
Right.
But historically, it actually comes from the Lynch family of Lynchburg area, Virginia, because they went out and they were hanging without due process Tories who supported the British government in the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. That's where the term comes from. So I'm uncomfortable with it, but I think some of the hysteria, I understand the modern meaning deals mostly with the hanging of black Americans without justice for no cause many times. And so I understand I'm uncomfortable with it, and I understand why people are uncomfortable with it. But historically, it had to do with the Tories.
And now, if you say political lynching, it just kind of means like a mob type thing. But I thought it was a poor choice of words. And again, it was kind of like Mulvaney rolling out Doral. I mean, you got enough problems right now without unforced errors, and I wouldn't have chosen that word. I mean, I think he can get his point across in a different way. But look, it is what it is. But what I just heard from you today really is what the message should be. Open the process up, and I think you've been clear in saying you don't know. You have no idea because you can't see anything, and all you can see is what they decide to feed you through the media, through their allies in the media. So this is a well-oiled machine, Congressman, that, those of us that have followed Nancy Pelosi, she's tough as nails. She's very good at what she does. She's a tireless worker. I mean, her brother died. She's still working. Elijah Cummings died. She's still working. And she's got an end game here. I'm not sure what it is because, as we just laid out, she's not going to get any Republicans to vote for this. And she's going to have to eat some of her own in these districts to get this passed. And I don't know where it's going in the Senate. I mean, they would have to get 20 Republicans to vote to remove him from office. And I don't think you do that because you don't agree with his Syrian policy. This is impeachment. He's elected. It's a dangerous path we're going down, sir. Don't you agree?
It really is. It's very dangerous. It's dangerous for the Republic. It indicates that we will probably have, over the next 5 presidencies going forward, we'll probably have 3 impeachments. And it's insane.
Insane. Congressman Morgan Griffith, thank you for your time today. Thank you for being with us on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Coming up,